right. Happy International Women's Day to each and every woman out there breaking barriers, leading change, and working effortlessly to support one another. I'm so proud to be a part of this interview showcasing these amazing women in dairy that are doing absolutely all those things for the industry in India. Pre-COVID, I had the opportunity to travel across continents to meet incredible women in this male-dominated sector. But today, as the world continues to await the return to normalcy, I'm thankful for technology to have expanded high ground dairies connection beyond Southeast Asia and Oceania into India. Our goal today is to inspire the next generation of leaders by sharing the journey of these women in the dairy space and how their hard work and drive pushed them to new heights and the ability to break barriers. My name is Alyssa Badger. I'm the Director of Global Operations for High Ground Dairy. I was asked to mediate this conversation because of my personal efforts to kick off the Women in Dairy Initiative in 2018, something I'm incredibly passionate about, and I'm very excited to be here. I want to take this moment for these women on the call to introduce themselves, their companies, and their current roles within their company. Of course, take a moment for the women to introduce themselves and their roles currently with either the company they're with or the college degree that they are working toward. Bharti, do you want to start with introducing yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Alyssa, for giving me this opportunity today to introduce myself and be the part of this initiative you're working on. And I'm Bharti, and I'm living right now in Germany. I'm environmental and resource management student here. And from a background, I'm agriculture engineer. I have working experience. I worked with class in India, Germany, Southeast Asia, Latin America. And then my curiosity with the environmental and agriculture issues made me think that I should do something where I can fill these technological gaps. And I decided to study environmental and resource management in Germany, and hence I moved to Germany. And I'm here, and I also look forward that the women have a specific role in agriculture sector, and I'm also one a part of them.
Thank you so much. Richa, if you could take a moment and introduce yourself and the company you're with and your role there.
Yes, thank you, Alyssa. And good evening, the audience. And I would first like to congratulate and wish a very happy Women's Day to all the women participants. This is indeed a very proud moment, and we should applaud the confidence and the courage that the women today have shown in the various fields of the industry. I'm Richa Sharma, and I'm from India. I work for a company called Christian Hansen. We are one of the biggest bioscience company, having more than 140 years of our presence. I've been associated with this organization for last 11 years, and primarily my core strength is into marketing. So now, at this point in time, I had the marketing and business development role in Christian Hansen. And if we look at it in India, the organized within the organized dairy, especially with the fermented milk products, Christian Hansen has taken the lead. We were the first mover in the country, and we have seen the packaged fermented milk products coming into India with a lot of support from the Indian dairy and good collaboration between Christian Hansen and Indian dairy. So very proud to be associated with Indian Dairy, and happy to be here to share my experience and the contribution which women have been doing in the industry.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Bharti, I'm going to start with you. You're an agri-environmental engineer, and you grew up in a farming community. Could you do us a favor and Richa, I'd love for you to chime in as well after Bharti answers, but help educate our audience on how rare it is to see, a woman in the agricultural sector in an executive role within India.
I would say women are playing an important role, being from pilot to farmers, and it can be seen like they strong a very strong role in agriculture sector. As it's seen nowadays, it's also quoted in CNN magazine, and in the Times magazine, and CNN also quoted it that women are there. It's a big picture that in the front end of the protest going on in India right now on Farms Bill, and it shows like women are holding a very strong position in Indian agriculture sector. And though I see that there are some regions which are not that strong, which can be like the executive roles of women in the industry, specifically which the industry is related to the machineries. So I agree to that part, but I see women play a very important role in Indian agricultural sector. So
Absolutely, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Richa, as you are in more of a corporate role there, I imagine it's quite rare to see women advance to those stages within India and kind of break out of that farm and machinery role. Has that been your experience?
Yeah, I think I would say that Indian dairy has very well accepted the women in this industry. If you look at traditionally, with especially with dairy farming, women have played an immense role and have contributed largely in the Indian dairy sector. However, that has not been recognized so far, and it's been more at the farm level. One of the, and for the Indian audience who would be participating here, one of the great epic, I would say, to understand the Indian dairy and how the contribution of women has been within the Indian dairy sector is the one of the movie called Manthan, and which is a very good reflection of the dairy cooperative movement, which has been initiated with one of the biggest dairy cooperative in India called Amul. I think that movie is a very good example of contribution of women in Indian dairy. Having said that, if you go back to in the past, women had an equal role, right? And then eventually came the dark phase where there were some challenges, and now the industry and across the globe we see things are evolving, and acceptance of women is increasing within the dairy, and especially with reference to India in the corporate world. I think, as I said, acceptance of women has been very well appreciated and accepted. The role of women has been very well acknowledged, especially at the middle level as well as at the senior level. So you look at the profiles within sales and marketing, or be it with quality, or be it with the research and development. Women contribution is highly encouraging. My journey or my experience with the Indian dairy for last 11 years, it's been very satisfying. And whenever I have been visiting at different plants of the different dairies, I think very well accepted. And I would say my interaction has been pretty impressive. The way the response and the way the encouragement I've got from the industry is something that I would like to commend, recommend, as well as thank the industry and my colleagues in the industry. So the experience has been beautiful, and the contribution has been immense, I would say.
That's incredible. Do you have any feedback on what exactly holds women back at present from advancing into that sector or that part of the dairy industry? Is there something specific?
I would say it's nothing to do with the industry today. It's more about the women and your self-image. I think women today, especially in India, has to look forward of embracing the embarrassment, leave out the fear of shame. I think that's what, if we can break those mindsets, we can break those barriers. I would say the industry is more than happy to accept women in most of the fields.
I would say like the education plays a very important role. Like we need to have the education penetration in these sectors. Like I have seen like women are a bit like hesitant when they have to go like into the mechanical engineering or maybe agriculture engineering, like what I decided to study. So I mean, we need to like do some like awareness events which can help. And this is what I think is one of the barrier, and education penetration could one of the solution for that.
Yeah, absolutely. That translates very similar to my experience. I think intimidation plays a massive role in holding women back. And that's part of the reason, started the efforts here in Chicago for women in dairy to build allies and help build each other up. It's very, very important in all aspects of business, but I've seen that as really important in the agriculture sector, specifically with everything that you guys have shared and my personal experience as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
I would love to know if there was someone in your life that inspired you to take the career path. Was it family support, or what ultimately, gave you, if there is a fear factor and an embarrassment factor, what gave you that strength? Was it family support or someone that you looked up to? How did that transpire?
Yeah, I would. I would start from my like childhood. I think it was in my subconscious always like that. I was so connected to agriculture, like because my grandparents, they are also like engaged in farming, and my father was always there to support them. And all my summer vacations and winter vacations were always in the farm. And interestingly, when I was used to go to school, and my school morning school bus route was also like from the farms, and I see like women carrying like some bunch of forage on their head and moving. But sometimes I see like tractors working early morning in the fields, and it like impacted my subconscious like mind that I was very comfortable choosing agriculture or agriculture engineering as my career choice. But I got like support from my family, because in India, when you have to choose something different, you really have to convince your family, because it's always like decision from the family also. So I always got support from my parents, and they were always like keeping it as an important part, like our kids should get like education, whatever they feel comfortable in doing. And I think they played a very important role. But I was always motivated from the society, like when I see early morning people working in the fields, or simply maybe in the evening, I used to go to buy little milk from a farm which my mom used to visit every evening. So I go there, see the challenges they have every day, like managing cows or managing their feed. So this was my like everyday society, looking at the society was my motivation. Like, and also when I moved to the like for my studying in the university, and my networking, like my professors, and I see like there were the professor which are women, and they are like always supporting me, like yes, we should do that. And that was a motivation. And when I joined class and I saw like, oh, the board of the director is also like Katrina class, and it's like always when you see around, it's always the motivation was always there for me. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Richa, I would love to know if you have a response or something specific that motivated you and gave you the confidence to advance.
Yeah, I think right from my childhood, since I was brought up, my father had been a professor. So we had that environment of, investing into education and being a girl child. There was no differentiation between a girl child and a male child. Like you equally have the right to education. So I think I was lucky enough to be brought up in a family which had invested into education. So, of course, being independent was the first most important factor for me, irrespective of which field I am. And when I was growing up, at that point in time, typically in India, there were just a couple of fields. Either you be a academician or a teacher by profession, or you be a doctor or you be an engineer. These were the top most acceptable professions in the country, and I was eventually being pushed into the similar fields without peer pressure and family pressure. And but at one point in time, I had to get back to my family and say, hey, you know what? I know I'm not so keen into building my profession into medical or something like that. What I aspire, and maybe I didn't have that clarity as to what I want to do, but what I aspire, I see myself being on the stage, addressing large audience, coming on some business magazine cover page, all those things were something that was inspiring me to go into a profession which was more into business administration. And that's what led me into business administration. um, and then I worked across various industry, right from financial industry to direct marketing industry to stockbroking firm, and then landed up into an ingredient industry. uh, Having said that, the core still was like, sales and marketing. That's what I really enjoyed, and connecting with people. Also, as eventually I grew up in my career, apart from the influence of your family and the near ones, then you, of course, look up to the industry icons. And then you eventually got inspired by, at that point in time, you had the media personalities like Salma Sultan. She used to be one of the news readers. You got inspired by them. You had other people in the industry, women power, authors like Shobha Day, and then later on Indra Nui, and so on and so forth. You got those inspiration, and that actually took you into that path to move forwards.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Speaking back to Bharti, I know you're currently a student, and you're working toward advancing into your career in the next few years. What is your goal when you complete this agri-environmental engineer program, specific to the industry within India?
Okay. Yep. My goal is like, I would say, like, being a student is like a very important part of everyone's life, and we are learning. So my decision of being a student was also based on like the challenges I saw when I was working around, like traveling to different places. When I was working the class, like I was in Southeast Asia, I was in Latin America, and I have seen like how intensively women were involved in farming. Like I have seen in Thailand, women are the proactive one, taking their little scooters, going to fields every day in the morning before the men are even like awake. And I saw my colleagues from Latin America. They were also in the field with me whole day. And then I saw there were like challenges from agriculture and environmental sustainability. I saw there were some technological gaps, and then decided like one of to study in the environmental management so that I can work on these gaps where I can contribute to sustainable agriculture mechanization. So one of the example I would like to quote was when we were about to launch a product in the market, and there was the issue of paddy straw burning in India. And I I was so shocked that yes, this issue was always in front of our eyes, but we developed something. But this small uh, integration of a small solution could be one of the solution to this bigger problem. And I got this awareness, like these solutions from the Western worlds are integrated into the developing countries, but the long-term synergetic impacts were not being assessed properly. So this is one of my goal, which I want to do after I finish my master's studies and go back to the industries with the networking and everything. I got always the opportunity to be connected to people in administrative, in the academics, or in the industry, and do my research very smoothly. But I would love to go back and contribute to the technological gap which I have seen in the past, and contribute to the sustainable agriculture.
Amazing. From a sustainability aspect, Richa, do you also see those issues? And I imagine that's something your company is invested in from a sustainability effort. I know that's a huge buzzword around the globe, but do you see that as a big issue in the dairy sector within India as well?
I would say that's one of the upcoming area because today most of the companies as well as the consumers are getting aware about the sustainability aspect. From Christian Hansen, and just to let the audience know that Christian Hansen is a company which is within the bioscience sector, is the world's number one sustainable company. We comply to 84% of the UN's goal on sustainability aspect. The ones which today, the gap today we see of from 84 to 100 doesn't mean that the balance is not complying to the UN goals. It's just that, we are creating the evidences or putting the structure in place around those goals. Having said that, with reference to the Indian dairy, I think there can be a lot being done within sustainability. One of the initiatives that Christian Hansen has to offer within the sustainable environment is, around food wastage. So we have solutions today to, provide to the industry which could help reducing food waste through technological advancement within the bioprotection culture. So these are the dairy cultures which, when you inoculate the milk with these cultures, they would inhibit the growth of yeast and mold and thus help improving the shelf life of your fermented milk products. And when you improve the shelf life of your fermented milk products with the Indian environment where today cold chain is a challenge, you will be able to have a longer shelf life, reach out to a larger audience. And I think that is a really a good area where today the industry can be benefited.
Yeah, absolutely. Would translate into less waste as well. Richa, I'm also curious, what first steps that you had to take to really establish yourself with this company and within your profession in the dairy sector?
I think that's a very interesting question. So if I go back, I don't come from a technical background wherein I'm not a dairy technologist or a food technologist. And when I was surrounded by all the people who were so tech savvy with the science behind the food, it took me a little bit of a time to break the barrier within me, that I can do it. It's not that it's rocket science. Of course, I have a science background, so I can comprehend, decode the things much easier. But then you have to invest in yourself, right? You have to upgrade yourself. You have to read. You have to connect. You have to network. And I think networking and being confident, as I said initially, embrace embarrassment is something that we need to work around. It's okay to be called stupid. That's perfectly fine. We need to build that courage. If you can break that mental barriers, I think it's done. You're there. It takes an effort to invest, and then you're there. So not to get intimidated. I think that is what I learned. Even today, I'm working on it, to be honest. We Indians have this little, we are, especially when you're in the global world, and you're working for a global organization, you have different cultures and different people from different background. Then you need to try and speak up. You need to engage with them, connect with them, relate to them. And I think women are beautiful relationship builders, right? I'm sure everybody would agree to it. And we need to leverage on it. So I believe in my journey with Christian Hansen, I think I could connect, I could build those relationships and networks and leverage on that networks that help me to learn, that help me to understand the industry nuances and take things forward. One area that I would surely recommend, especially with the Indian dairy, looking at the Indian dairy, um, of course, the plants with the Indian dairy are comparatively into the remote areas. It's not always that you would have the leverage to be connected with the urban cities. It could be even in some rural areas. And there, that's where you would have to take that effort to reach out, to overcome your fears, and move with confidence. I think if we inculcate certain behaviors around this, um, we are in.
Amazing. Yep, I absolutely agree with you. A community and building each other up just continues to be an everyday important role that we each have to take for one another. Absolutely. So thank you for that. Bhati, back to you. I'm curious what sort of advice that you would give your younger self, or what advice you might have for people just coming into the young women of the world that are trying to decide what to do next, and where to take their role within the food industry or agriculture sector. You could look at it as, what advice do you wish you got when you were younger, or what advice you'd give to the future generation of women coming into this area of the agriculture sector.
I would really like thank Richa because she already mentioned like you need to like break this social barrier, not to get ashamed first. And this is the same advice I got like when I was choosing this career, like, oh, you're not studying IT. Why are you not studying IT? You should go with this. So I also surpassed this social barrier. Like I cannot go to the mechanical engineering and or agriculture, which is kind of mechanical engineering. So I decided to go forward with this. This was my first advice. Second is like hard work, not to be afraid. Always go for the opportunities. Like I can tell my own story. Like my parents, they always support me. When they said like, don't be embarrassed, go with this. And I decided to work. There was like a ratio in our class. Our batch was not that great, but still, you are there in the men world and you're trying to establish yourself. And I get this job, and because if you work hard, you get the opportunities that I did. Whenever I was with class, working with class, they said like, hey, we want to work on this project, that I was never afraid to travel to even the remotest part of the India. Maybe Alyssa, you don't know, but maybe Prachi and Richa and our audience know, like I have traveled to Hardoi, Samastipur, like alone. Sometimes my parents were like very like afraid, like, wow, why are you there? You are engineer. I said, I'm engineer, but to understand, to be in the agriculture, integrated in the agriculture, I need to go to the ground realities. And only then I will be able to be a meaningful engineer or a developer. That's what I did. I was never afraid. With my networking and the support from my colleagues and my professors and my friends, I achieved what I wanted, and that's what made me here. Like when I put the hard work in front, they gave me more opportunities, and that's how I traveled to Germany. And then with my hard work, they liked my work. They gave me an opportunity to work in Germany. I again took another step because moving away from your family and living here in another country is also challenging, and parents are always afraid, but you have to somehow convince them. So I would just say stay strong and decide what you want to achieve in your life and just work on that. And I really recommend to all the women around, like agriculture, we are so integrated as a woman in agriculture, and we should study and be like educated in this engineering or agriculture engineering or dairy engineering and other aspect of agriculture, so that we have like education penetration and we can work more collaboratively in this field. That's my um,
Perfect. Thank
that's my
you.
recommendation. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have anything to add, Risha, or is it kind of the similar statements that you made earlier about breaking barriers and
I,
looking for moral support?
Yeah, I think the similar barriers, and I would like to congratulate Bharti for being brave enough to, go down to the rural areas and look at the plant. I think that's one thing that we really need to look at and, work around, because that really takes a lot of effort and courage to do it. I know in India it's not so, from an environment perspective, there are certain challenges that you need to overcome, but that courage is indeed needed for sure. Great job, Bharti.
Yeah, and I agree. Like even when not just in India, like when I was in Thailand, like there were women who were like taking care of the farms, even the machineries, and they were more comfortable. Like when I was there, they can share their problems, and I can understand their challenges because they have like little kids there in the farm, and they're there working. They were up at the 4 in the morning, and that's like they feel more connected. And I think when we are there, they share more solutions with us. So this is like the societal barriers which we need to like cross.
Both of you stated that your families have always been supportive. We actually have some questions from the audience that were submitted ahead of time, and someone asked, and I'm also curious, of course, how difficult it is for a woman to lead a professional life where she doesn't get that support from her family.
Okay. Yeah. I may not be the best person to say because it's all about I, me, myself, to be honest, right? My family, my parents did support me in every walk of life. Right? If things didn't go well with me, I could make my own decisions. Having said that, what I really come across my friends and my colleagues who are in the similar situation, and yes, there are challenges. There are, situations where family has not been supporting, and it becomes really a task. To be honest, it's not so easy to break all those barriers, especially wherein India and Indian women, the culture is all about giving a lot of importance to the family, and which is needed. I'm for sure it's needed. Creating that balance is a challenge. And what I could probably say is that it's more about how you create that balance. How do you break those barriers? How do you manage those expectations from the family perspective as well as from the work life perspective? So bringing that balance of bringing that work life balance is very important. Setting that alignment, setting that stage of expectation at the family level as well as at the work level is very important at the initial stage. I think that's what I can comment. I can't comment much beyond that because I don't wear those hats and those shoes, to be honest.
I understand absolutely. And, I'm similar, whereas I had support from my family my entire life, and I feel very fortunate for that. Where I had trouble finding support was within my career. I had, it's very different now, but 13 years ago when I was first starting at the Chicago Board of Trade, it was more my colleagues that didn't want to see me succeed. So I think that was one of the biggest challenges that I faced was these men that, and I feel very fortunate to be with a supportive company now, but men that told me, you'll never make it in this career, you should just give up. So that was, probably one of the more difficult things I had to face and push through every day with people that didn't believe in me. Do you guys, have you experienced that personally of people not wanting you to succeed in other aspects of your life within your careers, or when you were in school? Did you ever experience something similar?
I would like to say, like, I think I was in the similar situations couple of times, like where I got this feeling. I I don't want to say like I'm very smart, but yeah, we need to like handle these situations like very smartly. Like when I always took as an opportunity, that the traveling to remotest part, I can say like, okay, maybe they are putting me in a situation where I might like give up, but I just always took as an opportunity, and then with my parents or with my family, so that they should support me. I always made them like an integrated part of my work life. I was always updating them, keep in touch with them, and trying to tell them stories like this is like what could happen today. Maybe there were challenges like when you don't get a something go well in a day, but that part you don't want to share with your loved ones to give them more extra stress. So that's how I manage. But I always like whenever someone was challenging me with something, I always took it as an opportunity. Yes, this is maybe what you think, but I might have my chance to prove myself.
Richa, did you have something to add? I saw you took yourself off
Yeah,
mute, so I wanted you
yeah.
to.
I think what Bharti said was very relevant. That accepting the challenges. Um, in my career, maybe I must have gone through such situation, but I did not really uh, make a note of it because I just took it in stride. I just accepted and I just moved ahead. I never differentiated or did not think that, oh, it's not my job or it's late hours, I can't do it. I think those thoughts never came to my mind. And maybe that could be one of the reasons that, even if I was put in spot or was being tested, I've always stood there and I could overcome it. Women are great challengers, really. They are the change agents as well as challengers. They can really unblock and move on. It's again, it's your attitude. How do you look at things? If you accept it, you invest into it, you overcome it, you are there, you're sorted, right? It's all about making the decision that you can do it and you will do it. If you bring in the aspects that you start thinking that you are a woman, you are the weaker element of the society, then you are weak. Nobody can change that. But if you believe that you can, and there are great examples, we need to get inspired by them. And unless and until we change ourselves, we will not be able to change things. And whatever we keep celebrating, this Women's Day, International Women's Day, would all just be a good celebration, but will not move or make any change or any contribution till the time we start believing in ourselves.
Yeah, I've heard the word brave and courage a lot, and really the key takeaway I got from your advice, both of you, is do not let intimidation redirect you from your goals or what you want from life. And I absolutely agree. I appreciate that very much, and I'm sure our listeners do as well. And obviously, these sort of conversations and knowing that there's so many women out there around the world that are supporting one another and want to be there to help make each other's lives easier and empower one another is really encouraging. So I know that I'm getting a lot of value personally out of this conversation. So thank you guys. We had a question from the audience about domestic violence. So I thought we could kind of transition a little bit into that conversation, and how is it possible? Obviously, we don't have a perfect answer to this, but is it possible to drag women out from these domestic violence situations within the ag sector? And how does that change? Is it something that the industry should be discussing more? What are your views on that?
Okay, maybe I would start like I think I would again say like with this confidence and education, when women are in a situation where they are able to handle or drive their family, they should definitely just say no to any kind of violence or abuse, and it should be at the first instance. You should just say like it's not go for me. That's what I believe in. When you see it once, you should not compromise with your self confidence or with your position or place in your family. I think this is what I believe. And yes, if a woman is working or if there is any event where we can contribute, there should be more and more like awareness about these kind of steps what women can do in the situations like this of domestic violence. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
From my lens, what I would like to say here, yes, domestic violence is an issue in certain strata of the society. Not all, I would say, but yes, in certain strata of the society. Yes, individually, people or the women can work towards overcoming. At the same time, there are social organizations, especially NGOs and all, which probably there needs to be awareness drive by the agencies to help the women who are being abused, maybe at the home place or even at the workplace. Normally at the workplace, I would say today the organizations have got whistleblowers, right? And you could use those whistleblowers or also engage with the management and share. So again here, it's within the organization. I would say that it's more about overcoming fear of shame. And at the domestic level, at the home point, I would say it's especially the strata where it's more the labor class, and especially Indian dairy being more labor intensive. I think it's more for the NGOs to step up and reach out to those women in the society to let them know that there is a help available.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to continue to ask these questions from the audience. And this is an interesting one. And if you don't have an answer, that's perfectly fine. You can move on. But someone was asking what the sources of finance were for women in dairy within India.
Okay, I would not know too much in details here, but of course you do have NABARD, which is an banking financial institution which would help financing. Also, you could look at some of the banks and some private equity. Today, there are a lot many startups coming up in the Indian systems, and these startups can raise funds to venture capital and angel investors, right? So if need be, you can reach out to some of the microfinance agencies and organizations which can also support and guide you as to how can you raise funds within the Indian dairy.
Perfect. Yeah. And then someone also mentioned that there are a lot of schemes available for women, but they don't necessarily know how to access them. So is that something missing as well? A solid resource for women to be able to come to one place to, find access to these different schemes that have been developed for them, and to provide support. It sounds like, if there's someone in the audience curious, how to access these schemes, that maybe there's not enough sources out there domestically within India to provide this assistance and help.
I won't be able to be the right person to comment here, but it would be nice if you could reach out to some people on the LinkedIn, on some other social media, on those networks, and get some guidance.
Yeah, I would like to just add, just as per my knowledge, like from my university, like where I studied like my bachelor's, there's always like information centers there. So like it's called Kisan Ghar, like farmer's home. And especially when you go there, and for women, they have like special centers. You can go ask for information. Also, like you can get some trainings for your startup, and they give you full information how you can get it, subsidies on your startups or loans, and for everything. I mean, information is right out there. You just need to go and ask for it. But these are organizations or universities where all the information are there. You just need to go and visit. And especially in India, we have these Kisan Melas, which is like the fair for agriculture machineries. You can also go there. There are information centers, and you can get this information very easily accessible. And for women also, they get like subsidies on their startup and financing supports. So this is what, as per my knowledge.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for that. I think we're getting close to the end here, unless of course we get any more questions from the audience. But someone had asked what sort of advice you'd give to a woman who's a minority in their industry segment or workplace. And I think that you really kind of already answered this, and it's really about bravery and courage and sticking to your guns and not letting anyone intimidate you. So I think we've already replied there, but if you have anything else additional to add, about, not necessarily specific to dairy, but what sort of advice you'd give to someone else that's stuck in this male-dominated industry and isn't getting the sort of support that one might need from having an ally in the workplace.
Okay. I think what I would say is that it's exploit your network. Um, Exploited your network in a way that reach out to people. I think today social media, especially at the time when the pandemic situation where FaceTime is limited, it's good to reach out to people, get connected on the various social media, and try and discuss or get some solution, get some guidance. That's one approach. There's no cookie cutter. You can just have the same one guidance which can fit everything now. It's a lot about knowing and moving into that journey and understanding. Best way would be to get some coach, get some mentor, preferably within the organization if you could do, and if you don't have within the organization, um, outside the organization. That would be my recommendation.
Perfect, thank you. And then transitioning away from those sort of questions, I'm honestly curious, Richa, about your vision and what you see as the future of Indian dairy. Someone had asked your opinion about when we'll see healthier products on supermarket shelves, but what do you see as the future of the Indian dairy sector?
So I'm sure everybody who was listening to this webinar would know that India is world's largest milk producing nation, right? 1.3 billion people in India. The dairy industry contributes majorly in the agriculture GDP as well, right? Um, Within the agriculture, I think that dairy is one of the most evolved, most organized, I would say, in India today. Yes, the level of organized dairy is still maybe around 30%. You have still more to go, but that indicates the opportunity the dairy industry in India today has. Opportunity are immense, I would say, especially today when you look at women in today the women are looking at more the STEM courses, the science, technical, engineering, and mathematic courses, and which in turn has association with your astronomy, astrological, bioscience, biotechnology, and all those stuff. With so much of AI coming in, I think blockchain technology, cold chain technology, looking at your diagnostic technology, because in India the antibiotic is also something which is very sensitive. Uh, we have this antibiotic resistance being developed within the humans, and that's becoming a cause of concern. So between the main core dairy as well as beyond core to the allied industry around dairy, there are immense opportunities for people. So for me, I would say that dairy industry in India is very, very promising, with a lot of opportunity around, as I mentioned, across all the verticals.
Thank you so much.
I
Go
would,
ahead.
okay, I would like to just add, like, because dairy and the agriculture machinery, they are like very well integrated sector, because the economics of dairy farms totally dependent on what practices are being followed there, and how the feed was produced, and this is ultimately goes to the mechanization of the feed part. So they are all correlated, and there is huge scope of fodder management, resource management at that part in India, and women are there extensively involved in the research and development of the machineries. They are at the farms, they're managing everything. Now they have extra capacity so that they can balance and enhance their farm economics. That's what I believe, and this is what I wanted to add about the integration of two different industries and how it impacts the total economics of the farms.
Brilliant, thank you. Another question that came in from the audience. I'm curious as well to hear what you have to say, but are there any specific dairy product trends that women in dairy are looking for to keep themselves and their families happy? That was a question from the audience. So healthy, I apologize. Happy and healthy. Are there any specific dairy product trends that you guys are seeing?
Okay, within the Indian dairy, I would say the main consumer trend today we are seeing is around health and wellness. I think that's the biggest driver, especially post-pandemic. Health and wellness has been the biggest driver. Within health and wellness, I would say, if I have to decode further, is about immunity, it's about digestive health, and it's about overcoming malnutrition, and also about the protein. So there has been a lot of research being done in India, especially by Indian Market Research Bureau, which says that more than 75% of Indian vegetarian population is protein deficient. Right? Now, in that scenario, I think dairy products are one of the biggest and most safest products to improve your protein levels. So you could have dairy products are such a products that you could have a number of occasions of consumption, right from morning breakfast to your mid meals to snacking to indulgence. Across, you could consume your dairy products and fulfill your need of protein intake. Having said that, you have high protein products available in the market that you could consume, and then you also have, from immunity perspective, you have probiotics and probiotic dairy products around. And yes, and also another area is lactose intolerance. So you could look at lactose or low lactose milk, something on those lines, which are available in the markets. So primarily the biggest driver is health and wellness that we see from a consumer perspective.
Perfect. It's pretty incredible, the innovations constantly taking place in the dairy industry, but specifically over the past about year, as we've been struggling through this pandemic, we have seen, even outside of India, a global protein shortage, and there's so much opportunity for the dairy industry to help fill that gap. So I'm very excited for the future as well. With that, I have not seen any additional questions come in. So I would we're coming in an hour here. So I just want to take a moment to thank everyone for joining us today. And of course, to all women that we're celebrating today for their bravery and courage as we have come so far, or, specifically in the ag sector. I've been here 13 years and I've seen a lot of changes, and that brings me a lot of hope. So from a technological aspect into marketing and in the trading world of agriculture. So thank you, everyone. And we hope to do this again and bring as much visibility into the women in dairy segment long into the future. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Alyssa, for supporting this webinar. And I would also like to thank our audience and all the participants. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity and all for sharing their views.
Thank you. And I once again congratulate all the women participating here for being part of this webinar, and also the male colleagues for, creating those challenges and supporting us on the way. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.